Hello, everyone. It is me. I'm a nerd politics. I know it's been a while. I've been extremely busy with school. I'm just gonna put that out there. I'm a little bit sick from losing my voice. Had a lot of yelling to do in the past weekend, um, for sure. And we are from when I'm recording this video. There's 20 days until election day, but from when you're seeing this video, it is either 20 days or it is 19 days. Neither the less, not a lot of time before the election. So I want to give this video a little explanation as to where the states are at right now and what is the likability, given that the stats are coming more accurately the more closer we get to this election. Um, the stats that I pull here from your realclearpolling.org show that in the RCP average, the electoral college average, in almost all states besides Wisconsin, Trump polls about 0.5 and above. Pennsylvania is a little bit low. We'll get to that in a minute. And Harris only really stands forward in Wisconsin, in the blue wall states. But the thing is that I've always said, come with these elections and the data that we pull here and what we try to examine and find the equilibrium of, is that the closer we get to an election, a lot of people are going to say, I don't know if I should vote for that person, and switch their vote. A lot of the times people switch their vote. I couldn't tell you on a percentage, but I'd say you put 100 people in a room that say, I'm going to vote Democrat, by they come and, the Democrats of this year, like Kamala's Democrats, come, to the election. I'd say about 30 to 45 of those Democrats are going to vote for the Republican candidate Trump, just out of change in opinion last second. Um, that's always been a thing, and also we have to get into some news with Hurricane Milton and all the hurricanes that have just swamped the South here, and really that is dwindling down on the Democrats really hard. Um, and we'll get to that here, but let's put in the safe states first. I would like to put in, guaranteed safe states here, include most of the West and also the most part of Nebraska here, as well as Iowa, as we saw in the primaries, um, Alaska here, and Ohio, as well as the second district of Maine. And here we are as well. Here is Democratic Kamala Harris's more safer states, including her home state in California, Washington State, D.C., New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, Massachusetts, the first district of Maine, the second district of Nebraska here, and most part of Maine itself, as well as Rhode Island. So we got a 149, 129 here. Oh, also Hawaii, duh. So 133, 149. So a lot of the stats here are, of course, these are polling in the top battleground states right now. But if you want to look at who's polling in the general scheme of the election, Trump has a 0.7 advantage in the general election and of the battlegrounds as well over Kamala Harris. So realistically, being that we have 20, if when you're saying this, probably less than 20 days from the election, chances are that number is going to increase ever so slightly, maybe by 1 point, 1 point above. And I don't know why my mouse is spazzing out, so I am so sorry. But likely states here would be Texas and Florida, and I'd almost say Florida. Come this, all these hurricanes recently have swamped Florida. I mean, hell, parts of it are underwater, never to be seen again, like Shell City. Like they're never going to be seen again. And And you see that even here from North Carolina, and you see it from Georgia, a lot of states where families there's hundreds of thousands of families who couldn't leave the country, or who couldn't leave the country or couldn't leave their own state because financial decisions say that yep, that's not going to be cost worthy, or it's not going to be something I can afford to be doing. So you have thousands of dead people, you have thousands of injuries, and you have hundreds of thousands of people without energy, without food, with no real good living conditions, that now have to suffer and rebuild something out of nothing that there is. And Democrats are not funding any one of them. They're funding countries with wars that we're not even really a part of, in Ukraine and in Israel and Palestine, wars that we shouldn't be contributing to because they're not our problems. That's a problem with NATO that could be a different discussion for a different video. Um, but if you really want, I'd almost put Florida as a safe state here, but just based off the stats, it's a likely state, I'd say. Um, Kamala Harris's likely state is Oregon, New Mexico, and Colorado. No shocker, as well as Illinois and New York. No shocker. No shocker. And really, now it comes down to two states that really aren't battleground states, but are changing throughout time way more differently in the past than they have been. And of course, let's check out Arizona here with a 1.1% advantage over Kamala. I'd say it is like, it's leaning towards Donald Trump, as it has in the 2016 election. Nevada with its 0.5, and we also saw recently that Las Vegas is pro-Trump, so I think that number is going to go up to the likely stance. But I'm gonna say for now, as a just off the polling, it shows is leaning Republican, as well as here. Wisconsin says 0.3. I think that's going to change though, because the blue wall once was the blue wall. Their opinions are changing very quickly. Now, she could pull off a 0.3 percent, which means that she would win by very close margins in the state. But I think the numbers coming up to the day of or night of the election, those numbers will change, and I think Donald Trump will have a very small win in Wisconsin here, maybe by 0.2%. Michigan, we're seeing a 1 point advantage. I think Michigan's a little bit too far gone for Kamala, and I think it leans Republican. As well as here, you see Pennsylvania with a 0.3, which it's higher. It was higher. It was a little bit higher in months before. When the debates were happening, of course, the numbers change because they think, oh yeah, Kamala did so well, or Walz did so well. And I have to say, the vice presidential debate was actually pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to agree with what Walz had to say, and I'm not going to agree on what terms that Vance said that kind of dehumanized people. There's things I'm not going to agree on with either candidate, smaller details or bigger details. But generally, overall, it was pretty straightforward. No argumentation. Kind of just straightforward. But Pennsylvania here, getting back to it, sorry. I'm going to say it's going to come to a close call, similar to Wisconsin. Pennsylvania is going to be huge in the battleground states. Without it, Trump will probably lose the election. Maybe not, but, it's definitely something to pay attention to here. And the next one we have here is North Carolina with a 1.4 advantage. And I think that number is going to increase because these hurricanes have seriously just damaged the state. I'm almost positive it's going to be likely Republican here. And Georgia with its 0.7, I think that's going to even grow higher. I'm still going to say, based off the numbers, that it is lean Republican, but I think in a lot of states here, from Nevada all the way over here to Georgia and Michigan, and Arizona too, is that there's a lot of voters that are going to switch their vote, especially here down in the South, where hurricanes are going wild and deaths are rising, and there's no real help coming from the Biden administration. Um, that we're seeing anyways. And really now it comes down to Virginia and Minnesota. Now I don't have their numbers on here. Those have not come in yet. But Virginia in 2004 was the last time that it was a Republican state. Not by much. I think it was by maybe a 8 or 9 point advantage, which seems like a lot, but compared to past elections even before that, it's pretty small. Um, I've said in videos way in the past, like 8 or 9 months ago, roughly, I think, that Trump would probably win Virginia only because the Biden administration had been falling and dwindling so much to a point where even Illinois would have considered a Republican state, which is, very, like, no, that never happens. And obviously, Kamala has no real accomplishments. I mean, every time she starts a speech, she starts the same story. I grew up in a middle class home. Like, okay, so did most of Americans. So what are you proving? That you're better? Because you haven't proven it. You have no real accomplishments. You've done nothing to help with the border crisis. You've done nothing to help with the fentanyl crisis that is killing more innocent people in the United States, kids especially, more than cocaine and meth combined. Okay. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but it's a very true statement in being. And you have, millions, there's almost 20 million illegal migrants in this country that get to live with nice houses, with nice cars, with buttloads of money that average class Americans have to work for effortlessly in an administration where it basically pushes you away from that goal of living an American dream. You can't even own your own house. Housing in Colorado, the average house costs 500 grand. Okay, for people that make an average of $18 to $19 an hour, that's not going to get you anywhere unless you work 3 jobs a day. It's not possible. The administration has failed with the housing market, it has failed with the global economy. As you see, gas across all 50 states went up 51% in the last 4 years. Groceries, say you wanted to get a loaf of bread, went from $2 under Trump's administration to nearly $4 or $5 just in Colorado alone. And even in other states like California, you see that price is $8 or $9. It's not, if you brought a guy from the 1800s who used to pay maybe 2 pennies for a loaf of bread and he saw those prices, he'd have a stroke and die. Okay, because that's insane. And $2 even then is pretty crazy, but we're talking almost double digits here. The percentages on everything, on the global exchange and the products we have that we are able to sell and produce, is so high to the point where customers are not willing to be able to pay for it, and most are not willing to pay for what we have, which is why now we're getting into the discussion of renewable energy and reusable energy and the energy crisis, which is its own problem because lithium ion batteries aren't sustainable and electric cars aren't also sustainable if they're the only thing in production, which every company seems that, oh yeah, if we all do electric cars, we'll do better. No, you have to have that equal balance of petroleum, energy, and those cars that just are magic. They're just in the middle. They do both, right? I guess. But the thing is, Kamala Harris has not done anything that has proven herself as worthy to the country, worthy to her own state, how she got to be the politician, which, if anyone knows the story, you know the story. Can't explain on YouTube. But I think a lot of numbers are definitely changing. Now, I think still Kamala wins Virginia, but it's a close call kind of state here. And Minnesota, I've said for so long that Minnesota is going to eventually change to a Republican state. It hasn't done so since, 19 um, the 1972 here, I think, the 1972 election. Very long time ago, right? Like a very, very long time. Hasn't been a Republican state for over 50 years. But over the years since the 2016 election, Minnesota has dwindled down from Democrats and has gone more Republican. And I do think, again, that Minnesota will be a Republican state, but it will be a very close Republican state here. But anyhow, I'm sorry for the yapping and the mumbling and the side conversation. That's kind of just what I do because I lose track of everything I'm doing. This is kind of just a fast, update to where election is and how I think everything is going to go. But if you did enjoy, please do like and subscribe. Get us to 500 subs, maybe, just thinking. But of course, until then, I will see you all in the next political video. Thank you and goodbye.